So yay, Jesse!
Hey, we're talking about greens.
Greens, yes. So wonderful to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining me.
So good to have you too.
Yeah, this is going to be great. I really love talking about this subject, and I know you do too. So it's going to be blast.
Absolutely. How you been liking Las Vegas?
Oh, it's awesome here. I absolutely love it in Las Vegas. Seriously. I'm a desert person. I totally love it. Even though I've lived in Canada my whole life, coming to the desert has been so refreshing. The nature, the heat, I'm just loving it. And the food is so good here because it's more local. Instead of getting mangoes shipped to Canada from Mexico, now they're just shipped right, really close. So it's a lot less of a footprint living here, and there's a lot more variety here as well. So we've been really blessed to be here. Yeah, variety is key, right? Variety.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So for those of you who are just joining, who don't know who Jesse is, Jesse's Instagram is The Whole Lifestyle. Highly recommend heading over there to check it out. Yep, The Whole Lifestyle. Go check him out. Buy the bundle from his link. If you want to support him, head over there and get the bundle. And Jesse, could you share just really quick, kind of like how long you've been raw, and tell us a little bit about your little new baby, your raw baby. Give us a little insight into your world.
Yeah, I've been 100% raw vegan. I went overnight, and that was almost 23 years ago. So this January 1st will be my 23rd year. I've already eaten half cooked and half raw in my life. So now I'm on this half raw journey, and I'm continuing that. And yeah, my little story, I was, sick as a baby, got vaccinated, and fasting and raw food saved my life. And now we have a little one with my wife, Happy Raw Rainey, which I don't know who did an interview with her yet. Lots of people have been interviewing her, and we have a little Lily, and she's just over 3 months now, and such a joy in our heart to have her. It's like, oh, the best thing ever, from such a dark last year with tragic things happening to this beautiful, life now. And Lily's here, and she's growing every day, and doctors' checkups are all good. Blood tests are all good. I mean, she's gaining weight like crazy. She's breastfeeding. Randy's eating 100% raw vegan. She's the healthiest baby ever. Zero health problems. The doctors are blown away with the results. Are better than average people. Her height is good. Everything is sweet. So you'll see more pictures of that. So if you guys follow me on The Whole Lifestyle, you'll see more about Lily and Rainy and everything.
Yeah.
And please go and like my page. It's so behind. I haven't been doing very many things on there the last 3 months because of Lily coming, and I actually delivered her ourselves. We did a home birth. And the midwife was thinking that it's going to be like labor pains all night long, like it's typically. But Rainey did it like right away. And by the time the midwife was coming, Lily was on her way, and my knees were shaking. I was like almost out of breath, and my heart was pounding. And I actually had to deliver her myself in the birthing pool. So that was scary, but most beautiful experience of my life. And then the midwife's all like, okay, Dr. Jesse, here's the scissors. Would you like to cut the umbilical cord? And I said, okay. And she's all, wait, we got to wait 30 minutes until all that extra blood and oxygen comes out. And then I got to cut it. So for all you mothers out there, if there's any listening, please do a natural home birth if you can, and wait 30 minutes or so before you cut the umbilical cord, because then your baby will have 30% extra blood in its system. So important.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing. And it's so important that we share about the healthy raw babies and healthy raw pregnancies, because there's a lot of people out there who are under eating, or they're doing really restrictive things. Like, a lot of people feel like a raw diet is already in of itself restrictive, right? But there are people in the community who are really restrictive, and this is causing issues. And that's totally why we want to talk about the importance of greens, because people just don't realize how incredibly important greens are. They are so necessary and beneficial. So, and this is totally obviously not meant to take any shine away from fruit, because fruit is optimal, it's the best. But we have to also value greens almost just as much as we value fruit, right? Because greens are
Absolutely.
so incredibly important. So I wanted to ask you, when was it in your journey about when you realized how important greens were, and what is the story around that?
Well, luckily, in the beginning, in 1998 is when I started, and I went 100% raw vegan overnight. And I got a hold. My mom handed me David Wolf's books, and back then, everything was more kind of balanced, and the way he was doing things was really great. And in that book, in his second book, I got the first book, and the second book, it said like a triangle, and said that there's greens, there's fats, and there's fruits, and we got to kind of be in the middle and find our way on there. And luckily, I always loved salads, because before raw, I mean, even when I was a baby, my mom was taking a little hand grinder and putting bananas and fruits and stuff in there. But anyway, fast forward to, Mediterranean diet. I'm Croatian, and there was always lots of salads, always lots of veggies from the garden, and fruit trees are abundance everywhere. So I've always eaten not a ton of greens, but I've always eaten, a really good amount of greens. And then when I got into the raw food diet, I kind of ate balanced in that triangle, finding my way to have, the fruits, the greens, and the fats, and balancing it. And I was doing really good. And then like a few months later, I started going to potlucks, and there was only very few back in the day, but I would go and everything would be super like gourmet, and there wouldn't be so much greens there, and then I would come home feeling sick and like over fatted, and, not enough fruit there. So I always started, doing that. And then later I started eating tons of fruit as I got into more sports and everything. I was following people who recommend more fruit, which is great for, fruit and performance is really good.
Yeah, for
So I got into,
energy.
yeah, so I
Yeah.
got into that, and it was good. And then I was just always craving salads, and then people will say like, oh, well, if you go to the tropics, it's optimal in the tropics. And so we went to Thailand, and I had the best, tastiest, durians, mangoes, papayas, all my most favorite yummy fruits. And it was so amazing. But only after 7 days, I was crying for greens, and it was hard to get greens over there. So I'm really love greens, and I know I feel the best when I have a lot of greens. And if I eat too much fruit without greens, then I get out of balance. So there's times when I'm just craving, mono meals and lots of fruits. And then, if I keep repeating this, because when I do hard physical work like running, biking, lots of yard work, we just did a chimney. I was lifting 50-pound bricks into place, and that was hard, up a ladder. That was extremely hard. I was, of course, eating tons of fruit to power me through there. No cacao, no caffeine, no nothing, just fruits and, greens. And then at the end of the day, I couldn't wait to have my salad.
Mhm.
And I have a huge salad. It takes about 37 minutes to 40 minutes to eat. And I just make this nice salad. I love to put a dark green, a light green, some sprouts, shred in some carrots or other veggie, and then a bunch of cucumbers for juiciness, some tomatoes. And then I take a dressing, and I'll throw in some like avocado and some chia or flex, and I'll throw in like a bit of a pumpkin or a bit of a raw sweet potato or a big cauliflower or something like that, and make this creamy sauce and drizzle it over. So it's still low fat, but then I'm just so satisfied after that. And then the greens, it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, all the minerals that are in the greens. So, like, I like to kind of loosely bulk things into categories, and fruit typically is for your hydration and your calories. That's
Yeah,
mainly what fruit would be for. And you're obviously getting other stuff from it, but the bulk of it is calories and hydration. So your energy, your vibrancy, your vitamins, that kind of thing.
yeah, lots of vitamins
Greens,
in the fruits.
yeah. And greens are more for the minerals, the different fibers, the
Yeah,
more grounded kind of
yeah,
thing. And we need both. We need both. We had
absolutely.
someone asking about dental stuff, and greens is going to be so beneficial to keep your teeth healthy, right? When you're eating
Absolutely.
only fruit, you're still getting minerals and stuff, but you're not getting the variety that you can from having an all-inclusive diet where you're
Exactly.
getting all kinds of
Exactly.
stuff. And
Yeah.
also rinsing your mouth after meals too makes a big difference.
Yes, and also watching the unripe tomatoes, unripe citrus, unripe sour fruit. This is like killer for the teeth. I mean, and as the body gets kind of out of balance, when it gets out of that balance, we'll find that teeth get sore, or you just don't feel yourself, or you start getting kind of brain fog, and all these things start happening, and then you just start increasing greens, throwing a little bit of sprouts in there, and everything gets solved. I mean, I went through that. I followed, I know everybody in the raw food movement. I spent, tens of thousands of dollars over the last, 22, 23 years. I studied with everybody from people in the beginning to now, and just, I invest in my health. This is the number one tip I can tell everyone. The best investment in the world is not gold, real estate, crypto, or whatever kind of investment you can think. It's you. It's you. The best investment is you. Do you want to live healthy and happy? So invest in yourself, and don't be afraid to buy the bundle, buy the best food you can, buy, good top-notch technology and things. I'm tired of tech that breaks, so I buy good tech, all that stuff. And buy a good juice, or buy good stuff, buy a dehydrator if you need that to transition. It's better to make dehydrated food and warm up your food in the wintertime than go back to eating, cooked food or animals, and things like that. So yeah, we got to keep it balanced.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I do notice that many of the people who have been raw for a while who end up going back to animals, and I've had this question multiple times, because people, they're questioning. They're like, well, why did this person go back to eating animals? And when we look at their patterns, at what they did over the last year or so, many of them are going way too extreme. They're under eating, they're not eating enough greens, and they have these like kind of restrictive mind patterns. And they might feel good at the time, but their gut microbiome is compromised. And the more it's compromised, the more restrictive they need to get. And then eventually all they can eat are a couple foods, because everything upsets their gut, because their gut just has become so weak that they can't. So they're all, I need to eat simply, I need to eat super simple, but it's not the food, it's their gut microbiome. And by slowly introducing more variety, we can build our gut microbiome really strong so it digests our food. And it's not just sitting in our colon. Because I have a lot of people who say, Lisa, I can't digest broccoli. Well, you don't digest broccoli fiber. Your bacteria does.
Exactly.
So it's not you that can't, it's your bacteria. So you have to build the bacteria so that they can effectively digest those foods. And then with time, and it takes time, right? I mean, it's a work in progress for sure. But yeah, I find that, and then they get so extreme, so limited, that they end up going back to animal products because they just break, they can't do it anymore. And then I see the vegan diet blamed, when it wasn't the vegan diet, it was how they did the vegan diet and how restrictive they got. So, but yeah, there was a question in here too that said, what would be considered greens, if you can dive into that one?
Yeah, okay, one more thing I just wanted to say for teeth and bones and everything, it's really important that silica also and stinging nettle is like one of the best greens for teeth and bones. Getting those wild greens are very good in there, so that's really, really important. And what is considered green? So green leafy stuff, this is actually from our carob tree. We grow carob and have beautiful, yummy carob pods and make yummy carob from that. But greens are like leafy greens, which is kale, lettuce, spinach, chard, whatever kind of greens you can find,
And people can also eat other greens like beet greens and carrot greens and celery greens. Like there's so many greens that we don't normally eat. Bok choys, cabbages. Yeah, there's a lot out there.
Yeah, sprouts. I mean, there's just so many. You just got to be careful if you're going to get wild plants. You got to 100% know what kind of plant that is, and not make a mistake and think you're eating something that it's not, because that's it can be dangerous. I did that once, and I'm never going to make that mistake again. I was sick for a whole day, and like my saliva was flowing out, my whole throat was burnt. I ate this shiny leaf that we were just so missing greens, and there was nobody growing greens, and back in the day, and we just couldn't find them until we did our own garden. So it was just like, oh my goodness, this looks kind of good. let me just try a bit. So I just tried a little bit. It was sweet, nice, and it took about 2 minutes after I swallowed it for the burning to start. So you have to be careful. But you know, one of my biggest tips my mom always used to tell me was, go and, you know, if you're buying organic or even conventional greens, throw that in, but go into the garden or go find something wild and just throw a little bit of something in there with that salad, and it just ups the mineral content and ups the vibrancy of that food.
Yeah,
So
that's such
important to
a
have
great
something
tip.
wild.
Yeah, that's such a great tip, because we had somebody ask how to boost the gut microbiome when transitioning. And that tip is what I was going to say. Totally, is adding smaller amounts of these varieties into your salad. Like, have a base of romaine or spinach or chard or whatever else you want to have in there, but add a little bit of the wild dandelions
Yes.
or stinging nettle or whatever that you want. Try and find those things. It's hard to find,
Yeah.
especially if you are maybe in a city that doesn't have a lot of options. You can always grow your own as well. Find seeds online and grow your own in little buckets of dirt, right? You can grow your own stuff and add that to your salad, but really venture out and try new greens.
So important. Yeah, and I mean the thing is, it's you have to feel balanced, and it takes time to get to that, you know. But if you do it in the beginning, if you start adding in more greens, it's just beautiful. I mean, I've coached thousands of people over the years from all around the world, and you know, people, like, they get on this thing, they start eating, when they first start raw, they start eating all these different varieties of veggies and fruits and greens and everything that they're used to. And then they start listening to people and saying, oh, you got to cleanse until you almost are, there's nothing left, and until your teeth fall out and all your hair falls out. This is a big mistake. And then what happens is, so they take all the veggies off, or most of them. Then they reduce the rest of the veggies, and then they reduce the greens. And then they start missing that stuff, and they try to bring some of it back in, and then their stomach hurts, and they're like, wow, I don't digest greens anymore. Any of the hard, so-called hard veggies don't digest anymore. So then they stick with fruits and melons and things that are very easy to digest. And yes, they're very healing and nice for the belly. But if you only eat that, it's like your stomach is like going to the gym. If you only go to the gym and you're, for your whole career, you only lift a half a pound weight, and you're wondering, why is your arms, why is your legs, why is nothing growing with this half a pound? You could do, you know, 1,000 sets of half a pound and your muscles are just not growing, because that's how it is with our digestion. It's like a machine. It needs other fibers, like you said, the, you know, the microbiome and all those friendly gut floras in there. They need all these things. So when you go into introduce, after not having broccoli for years, and you go and decide to have a whole one and you throw that in your salad, of course you're going to get gas, bloating, feel sick, feel kind of lethargic. But if you would have just cut a little piece of it in and threw it in your salad, you might have a horrendous gas and a little bit of bloating, and then you'll be gone in a few hours. And then in a couple days, you have a little bit more, and you train yourself. Like for me, what was it? It was zucchinis. For some reason, I haven't had zucchinis for a long time. I haven't found a nice, good ones. And all of a sudden, we went to the farmer's market and got them. I'm like, yeah, oh, I'm smelling, I'm tasting, they're so good. I shredded in 3 of them. Wow, my stomach blew up. I had gas for the first time in like a month or so. I mean, that's one thing I check on is gas. It's very, very rare. You can ask Happy Raw Rainy. I hardly ever have gas, and I'm proud of that because I know my digestion is good, and I can have a whole cauliflower blended into a dressing with avocado and no gas at all. So this is the thing. The zucchini was giving me horrible gas, and now today, again, it's been a few days, and I had just half of one, and I got a little bit more gas. And I know in about 3 or 4 days, when I have a little bit more, it'll be gone, and I'll be used to it. And then, of course, I'm going to want to eat this again, you know. So as we eat seasonal stuff, and when we don't get it, it takes time for our body to adjust again. And this is what's beautiful, like when people are coming into raw, if they listen to someone who's like us, who's got the right information, and they start, you know, eliminating the foods that are not good, and they get into this big variety of raw vegan foods, then they're fine. Their digestion works good through everything, and they don't have all this trouble, you know?
Yeah, it's such a great point. I love what you say about the, like, it's a gym, it's a workout. We have to work our gut microbiome because it's not the greens, it's not the cauliflower, It's not the zucchini's fault. It's just the fact that you don't have the gut bacteria at this moment to digest large amounts of it, right? So we got to go slow, add a little bit here and there. And in the chat, we had somebody asking about how much it costs. And I think people are noticing all those bananas in the background with Nate. Nate, you should join us. But we got all of those bananas. Actually, John Kohler, who is a huge fan of greens and variety, he brought us a box of bananas and a box of persimmons, chocolate persimmons.
Nice. Oh, wow.
Chocolate persimmons. So we're excited to have those. There's some here.
Oh, nice. Yeah, persimmon season is starting here too, and I'm loading up on that, and the citrus is coming in. I'm waiting for the beautiful oranges to finally go pick them, and yeah, this is a great time for orange fruits.
Yeah. So with these, I want to just have one, and then the next day maybe have two, and like kind of let my body, because it's seasonal and I haven't had persimmons in forever. So it's just, that's something that people need to keep in mind too. Like you had mentioned, the seasonal foods. We have to slowly implement them, and then kind of like how the season is, like you get a couple ripe ones in the beginning, so you eat like one or two. By the end of the season, everything's ripe, and you're like eating so much of them, and it goes in line with our gut microbiome, which is really interesting. So interesting. But on the topic of how much it costs, I would say Nate and I spend around, I don't know, maybe 150 to 200 a week for the both of us. I would say that's average, but we also, we try to get as much variety as we can. We shop at local markets. We look for sales. Like there's some places, like there's an app that we have that shows us the sales for certain stores in Vegas. And every Wednesday they have really awesome deals. And this one Wednesday, they had 1 pound of organic blueberries for $1. So we bought 12 of those because that's all that would fit in our freezer. But it's possible. The thing is, it depends on your area where you're living. Like when I was in Canada, it was way more expensive just because everything was shipped in pretty much. So how much do you spend, you guys, for all three of you?
Maybe
little one doesn't eat
maybe
yet,
about $50 a week, because we like go and get a lot of wild greens, and like stuff is a lot cheaper here in Croatia actually. So the prices, I mean, we can get by with a lot less, you know. So yeah, I mean, we actually need more greens and more variety of things, but so we're working on our garden. I mean, this is also, as John would say, this is one of the biggest things. If you start making your own sprouts, at least, that's great, and then you start eventually growing a garden. If you want to be long-term successful and you want to bring down prices, you need to forage for wild food and also, you know, grow your own greens and veggies and fruits. We have tons of fruit trees. We have an avocado tree that's 11 years old, and it finally produced 2 avocados last year. And then we went away for the baby, came back, and the people almost killed our garden, and the avocado, all the little buds fell off, so there's no avocados this year. But persimmons are much smaller this year because the trees didn't get enough water, but we have abundance of persimmons. And yeah, it's really important to plant trees or find places in nature that you can plant some trees and just, you know, nurture them. We had a beautiful neighbors that had these amazing persimmon trees that probably looked like they were, I don't know, 30 years old, and they would be like, how many, like over 100 pounds of persimmons we would get, and we would be all set for the whole season. And then they cut down that poor tree. We were so depressed after that.
Oh,
so we went and, like, you know, we went and cut some buds and bought some persimmon trees, and now we have our own. And you know, it's going to take another 5 years before we have an abundance of persimmons. But
yeah, and that's why, like, Nate and I live in a high rise in the middle of Las Vegas, so it's hard for a lot of people to have land. And if you don't have land, microgreens and sprouts all the way. It's really inexpensive. You can buy bags of broccoli seeds and grow your own microgreens. And you can even grow them really big so they become like bigger microgreens. You don't have to eat them when they're super small. You can have them at different stages as well. So growing your own is so important. And we have someone in here saying, just to understand it right, even if my body is having issues, it's not necessary to go for this detox thing. All needed is change in diet and balanced way, raw vegan like you two, and happy healing then. Yes, I would have to say yes. because it's not about detox. Our body detoxes every single day. It's got 7 detox organs, and that's its job. Our digestion doesn't need a break, like a lot of people say, because our heart doesn't get a break, our lungs don't get a break, our brain doesn't get a break, our skin doesn't get a break. Our digestive system is no different, and our digestive system is actually full of bacteria who are alive and who need to be nourished as well as you. So by just eliminating all of the non-food items and going to fresh, whole food, delicious stuff, your body is going to work in its own way to get there, right? We don't need to. And we've got Nate joining us.
What's up, Jesse?
Love Your Alive book about sprouting. I mean, that's the book I wish I had when I first started sprouting back in the day. I see you've done your research.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I know, it's so incredible how powerful these little foods are, right? These little living
Absolutely.
foods. Just incredible. Hey, cheers, brother. Good to see you. How's that little
Cheers.
baby?
Really good. Yeah, cheers. Here's my clear beer, 100% alcohol, H2O.
I love it.
That's
I love it.
awesome. What are the
Yeah,
best, easiest, fastest?
I just wanted to say one thing with digestion, though. I find a lot of people are like grazing all the time, and they're eating like, you know, they have a lot of emotions and they're eating like 10 times a day. And I don't think that's even healthy on a raw food diet. And I do believe, though, I really base my research and feeling on nature, and really intuition is so powerful, because for me it was life and death back in the day, and my intuition had to grow super powerful. And if we're eating all the time, I don't believe that's healthy. But here's the thing, in nature, we had to walk long distances to get our food, and sometimes we would get to a nice persimmon tree and all the other men and women would have taken them all, and then we would have to fast for a day, or we'd only get 1 persimmon, and then there would be many hours before we get to eat again. So I think everything has to be really in balance, and this is probably the hardest lesson of life in general. Balance. We have to have balance. There's days that I'm actually not hungry. I mean, I can have anything I want. I could just eat and eat it, and there's days that I just feel like out of sorts, and it's not like I got sick or anything. It's just that I'm not hungry, and then I'll kind of fast a little bit, and then in a few hours I might be hungry. It might be 24 hours, then I become hungry again. So we got to really listen to our body. But there's so much misinformation out there in this raw food movement, in the vegan movement, and in general medical, you know, practices and everything. It's just really a mess, and I'm like in the background always like saving like people before they get off the path, or before they have a medical condition, because they've really went to an extreme way of eating. You know,
plus, and plus we aren't in those states anymore. Like, we have access to the abundance, and we're understanding more about how our gut microbiome thrives on variety. So we that's the whole balance. Like, we have to accept where we are today in our modern life, and what we've learned about our gut microbiome to provide it that variety that it's looking for, right? And yeah, I noticed, someone was asking, what's the best, easiest, fastest things to grow in large pots? I would say microgreens, for sure.
Yeah.
Microgreens are going to give you the best yield, and they're the easiest to grow, really, I'd say.
And you just got to find out also, like, what's your favorite thing to grow. I mean, you experiment with that, and you might get so excited that you'll go and invest in a plot of land with some friends and start gardening, which would be the greatest thing to increase all of our health to the best level. Because when we're growing our own greens, and, you know, there's people out there that say, oh, fruits have everything in there, and if you grow your own, I mean, that's actually the best tasting fruits when we grow our own. The peaches we had last year, we would only eat 2 of them and feel full inside, because it was just so packed with vitamin. I mean, we fed those trees seaweed and took care of them, and just, it's amazing when you take care of the land. And this is, I think, what everyone needs to do, is encourage all the growers out there, instead of profit, to make fruit quality, green quality, and everything so abundant, packed with minerals and vitamins, and, you know, that live energy in there, that, you know, we actually get everything from the food, you know?
Yeah, and it's really incredible too, like when you start to grow your own, like you're saying, those trees, not only are you know, you're getting the benefits because of all the love and the energy that you're putting in, right? To what you're feeding them. But that tree is breathing the same air that you're breathing, right? So there's definitely more of a symbiotic relationship there happening than having, say, a peach, you know, that you had from Mexico. But of course, you know, not everybody can do it that way. Of course, that would be the way that you guys are doing it, Jesse, is the best, hands down. And we should, as a society, I feel like we will, like, community gardens are going to be the way of the world, the way of the future.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, planting trees instead of yards.
Yeah.
Get their garden going.
Yeah, I think I heard a thing saying, like, if some aliens came down, they would think that the grass were the kings, like we're slaves to our lawns, you know?
Right? I know in Canada, there was this one house down the street from where I used to live, and they had turned their entire front yard into a garden. And it was like bursting with all kinds of fresh fruits and greens. And it was the best house on the block because you'd walk by and it would be so colorful.
It's really kind of a shame, though, because in a lot of places,
you can't.
Right? Like this.
I know.
Yeah, the HOA, the homeowners association. It's like it's ugly, right? To have
I know.
Because gardens can be, you know, they're organic. Like there's, you know,
it's a jungle.
It's a jungle.
Yeah, John Kohler's backyard. You can't even see what's in his backyard.
Where are you?
What?
Yeah. I know, it's crazy.
And definitely community gardens all the way. And you know, especially for the youth to see this too, like to get in there, your hands are in the dirt, you're connecting with Mother Earth even more so because you're just right in there with it, as opposed to how the majority of the population is right now. We're so disconnected with our food. We don't know where food really comes from, who's growing it, what kind of energy is putting in. And if it is, you know, these super big commercial growers, which bless them, 100% bless them, because we are able to get these kinds of foods throughout the year.
Yeah.
It's definitely a different kind of energy, though, than if you had a community garden or your own garden at home.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and for
and it
people
depends too. I mean, it kind of balances both ways. I mean, there's some organic stuff that we go and buy, and it tastes worse than the conventional, you know. And so we balance that with some of the conventional stuff that's not really sprayed too much or done anything with, and it tastes better than the organic. So this is where the whole level of everybody actually needs to get into measuring the quality of their food and raising that vibration, because that's our biggest thing. And I think as more people hop on this and eat more fresh fruits and veggies, this will start to change. Also, if you start demanding it. I mean, here in Croatia, everything is so cheap, and people are kind of like, they don't know the difference because they don't have like high quality stuff. So like when we go buy organic mangoes at the health food store, they're so expensive. Like, wow, they're like $4 or $5 for one, or sometimes even $10 for one, or $20 for one mango. But it's the best mango you ever had, you know? So.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like a lot of people fall into that. Again, it's all the restrictive mindset. They think if they can't eat 100% organic, then they're not perfect, or they're not healthy, or they're not good enough, or what have you. And it becomes a mental thing, right?
Absolutely.
Because for variety, yes, eat as much organic as you can, grow as much of your own food as you can, but it's okay to eat variety from other sources, because also a lot of the little farms don't have the finances to get that little organic label.
It's a lot to go through to get that organic certification. So we have you know, several friends that are farmers that they are like 100% organic. Some of them are even veganic, like no fish emulsions or any of that kind of stuff in their grow, but they're not certified organic because it's so many hoops to jump through to become certified organic. And another thing too, when it comes to conventional stuff, you know, stuff that maybe is a little bit heavier sprayed, you know, if you get like a regular conventionally grown cucumber, it's better than eating Taco Bell.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'd rather see people thrive with abundance on a maybe not all organic diet than to starve because they can't afford all organic, or to have a compromised gut microbiome because they don't have very much variety all organic.
Exactly.
And it's so much more important to just be able to get enough calories and enough variety. And somebody's asking, that's why labels like biodynamic are way better for identification. Yeah, and not a lot of people are using that either.
Right.
But someone else said, how do you work on that and on yourself and not feel the shame, kind of like the purity kind of complex? And that takes a lot of time to get out of that purity mindset. But really looking at things from a more logical perspective and not getting into the vortex of the restrictive stuff, and just be really kind and gentle to yourself and know that you're giving yourself as much variety and as much hydration and fresh food that you possibly can, because everyone's going to have a different situation. But it takes time to get out of that deep diet culture mindset.
Absolutely. Yeah, it takes time. I mean, the programming is everywhere. I mean, the first step is we got to shut off the TV and all the negativity and all this bad news. I mean, this keeps us up at night and worrying about the current situation in the world, and the fear and all this stuff just brings down our internal vibe. It brings down our heart vibration. And when that heart vibration starts going down, then we start getting negative thoughts and we start beating ourselves up if we're not perfect. And there's really no perfect. You can't really be perfect. There's no way to really be perfect. So when we start, you know, going within, away from the TV, the media and everything, and spending time in forests and foraging for wild greens, and, you know, connecting with yourself and shutting off the phones at certain times and going to bed early, you just naturally start to love yourself more. And as you love yourself, we're a mirror to the world. So when we love ourselves, the whole world is going to love us more. And what better thing than that is? We can all bring more love, more joy, and more peace into the world. And that's like our number one thing. Everything else is like secondary, you know?
Yeah, everyone's really loving this conversation, Jesse. Thank you so
Nice.
much. We're getting some really awesome comments.
Yeah,
Like people who are saying, this is why I haven't been able to stay raw. And someone says, what you're saying is exactly why I haven't been able to successfully go raw, when it spoke to my heart. And raw speaks to our heart.
Absolutely.
We resonate with it because it's so natural to eat these whole natural foods the way nature made them. But we are stuck as a society in general in detox and diet culture, where we have to be pure and perfect, where we have to follow all these rules. When it's like, no, you just need to eat abundantly from Mother Nature and make sure you get enough. Eat when you're hungry, eat enough, because if you're under eating over long periods of time, you're going to have cravings and you're going to feel not proper, right?
Yeah, and all these detox symptoms when you're not eating enough. It's so easy. It's like there's days when I can't get enough food because we're in a place where it's very hard actually to get food. So this is like one of the hardest places too. So if I'm not eating enough calories because I can't find it, I get a little cold. As soon as I eat enough calories, boom, everything's up. As soon as our little baby doesn't get nursing on time, her hands and feet start to cool off, you know, and all these detox. I mean, this is sad. I mean, I'll just have to say it here. There's people out in the raw food movement who get people into so much detoxing that they just detox until there's nothing left. I've got, you know, almost 100 people over the last 20 years who are on their deathbed eating raw food because they were just starving themselves to death. There's even people who died, not under my watch. I have not lost anyone ever, and I'm very careful who I take on, but I've seen people actually pass away because they're into this brainwash thing where they just detox everything away. They're detoxing until their teeth are falling out. They're detoxing until their hair falls out and it doesn't regrow as thick. In some cases it does, but we're not meant to lose our hair. We're for sure usually not going to get a third pair of teeth. So we cannot detox ourselves to death. This is like one of the saddest things. Like I said, when we have a big variety of this, all the fruits, all the veggies, it's a nice big variety. We're thriving, we're happy, we're healthy, our mental health is great. And when we start restricting and bringing down just to fruit, and then even getting away from all the fruit and only going to melons or papayas or mangoes or something, and we have this one little thing, there's no way, even if you ate, 50 pounds of it, which you couldn't, it would not show up in Chronometer with everything. So please, people, be careful. If you're having these kind of issues, definitely go to the whole, follow me on Instagram and the whole lifestyle, and I can help you with these things. And I've saved many people before they've actually ruined their health.
It's really a shame. I remember following this one guy, Dr. Robert Ksar, you know, and I loved his stuff. He has, you know, he had just a cool, you know, mindset, and he recently, I think just this last, it might have been this year, it might have been this last year, he went back to eating animal products because he had said on his videos, he's like, I detoxed myself to death. And the only way that I can, you know, sustain and, you know, rebuild is to start eating, you know, grass-fed, you know, humanely slaughtered, you know, animal products. He's going back to eating meat. And it's like, oh man, this is horrible. This is really sad to see. And I know Lissa deals with a lot of people who, you know, are reaching out and have gone, you know, so we see a lot of people, and I know you too, you have as well, Jesse, that have brought themselves, they have decimated their gut microbiome so bad to where they can't digest fibers as easily. It's really uncomfortable. So they go back to eating animal flesh and they say, I feel so amazing. And it's because there's no fiber in the animal flesh. And it is, of course, like very nutrient dense, right?
It is very nutrient dense. I'll give it that part. But then there's all this pain and suffering and killing, which is just not nice. But the thing is, to succeed on a raw vegan diet, you have to learn how to replace that stuff. And the way you replace that is you eat all those, I mean, of course, my main source of everything is fruits. And then greens is almost as much as fruits. You know, I mean, it doesn't weigh as much, so it's not, but there's a ton of greens, and then there's lots of veggies. And then I mix the greens, veggies, and some fats balanced with omega-3s, and this is how you're getting like the raw meat for me. This is when you have avocado and chia or avocado and flax, and you throw that on a big salad with all kinds of greens and veggies, you're getting those fat-soluble vitamins in, and you're keeping you're sustaining yourself. I mean, this is no joke. I would not be able to be here 23 years, 100% raw vegan. I mean, this is not, I'm saying this in public. Behind my doors, you can see my fridge. There's nothing in the house. I would never touch anything. I mean, on one of the summits, like 5 years ago, I even said where I was like feeling like I was looking at some meat products when I'm passing by the window, and I was actually like licking my chaps. I'm going like, what the heck is wrong with me? And I wasn't eating certain veggies that I wasn't eating. My variety wasn't as big as it used to be, you know, moving here. So I was like missing beets and certain things. And when you have these certain foods and you mix that with a little bit of not going high fat, guys, this is another one that's going to kill us. If we go too high fat, this will throw everything off. But those salads, I mean, to be honest, how did they go in good? Did they go in? Fruits and salads and greens taste nice and veggies, but for me, it tastes the best when there's a little bit of fat in there. It just goes in. It seems like it's smooth. It stays in my stomach and my gut a little bit longer. And the little friendly dudes in there, they just eat that up and they love it.
And you don't need a lot of fat. You need like a couple tablespoons of hemp, maybe half an avocado is just enough to be able to get that. Like there was the one study where it was a quarter of an avocado, and you absorbed way more lycopene from a raw tomato than if you cooked the tomato. Just having the fat with it was, but you don't need a lot. You really don't need a lot. Someone was asking a couple times about supplements on a raw diet. And I would say for me, like we do have B12 and vitamin D, but the thing is that those vitamins are environmental vitamins. We're supposed to be getting them from our environment. And because we live in a high rise, we don't have access to the natural soils to get adequate amounts of the bacteria that makes B12. So we take a supplement. But if you have a garden, get in your garden. And, you know, instead of like scrubbing and sanitizing all your fruits and veggies, just rinse them off. So there's still a little bit of that soil maybe still on. And that's going to give you a good amount of the bacteria. The wild soils, like you said, eating wild food, all of that food has bacteria already on it. So when you digest it, you're introducing like new species, especially if it's wild. So it's really important to get that variety in and not sanitize and sterilize it.
Well, what's the saying? God made dirt and dirt don't hurt.
Exactly. I mean, it's funny. When I was little and sick, I used to roll in the dust. You know, there would be this field that they would take a tractor to, and there would be this dust, and people thought I was like crazy, but I wanted like the microbes and the certain organisms in there and that dust. And in the sea, I like to roll in the sand and get the sand on me. Or when I go swimming in the sea, I don't take a shower for a few days, and those deep minerals go in, you know. And I just want to say I don't take any supplements either. I played with like a raw vegan multivitamin, didn't notice any difference at all. Like for me, I'm a person, I just can't take someone's word over the internet. Or back in the day, there wasn't really internet, but I couldn't just listen to someone and say, oh, this is good. I had to see it for myself, try it on myself to feel that. And I've taken a multivitamin, I don't feel anything from it. And B12, I do take a natural spray once in a while. You know, that's very important. You have to, and also we can't be blind. There's a lot of people in the raw food movement who refuses to go get blood tests. Maybe they do it behind the scenes and it's not good or something, but it's good once a year at least to go get a full panel and check everything out. And when I go, people are just blown away. You know, they were blown away. My B12 was at 700 and something, the level. It was like way up there, really nice. I think if it's above 500, it's really good, especially if you get above 50. I talked to, you know, Fred Bishy, raw vegan doctor, who says when we get older, we need B12 to be above 5. And mine was amazing, you know. And one trick is we, you know, we have compost, and we actually go to the bathroom outside and we put that in our garden. Some people might think it's gross, but in the old days, this is what people did. So you give back to nature, and then that friendly bacteria and stuff comes out, and it's, you know, you get that stuff there. So, you know, and we're just too clean. Everything is so clean and worried about germs. And then when people go to town, they get the common cold. I haven't been sick for like years and years and years. It's just amazing to see. I actually miss being sick, because then I get to lay down and rest, and I don't have to check emails. Someone makes some food for me and takes care of me, but I don't get that privilege anymore, you know?
Right.
So,
oh man.
You just have to pretend.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have a really fun comment. None of yas are older than 37. So
Nice.
I will be 42 in about a month. Nate?
I'll be 45 this next April.
So you're 44 and a half. And Jesse?
44, almost 45.
44. Look at us go.
Yeah.
Woo, 37. I'll take
So
it.
awesome.
Yeah.
And Jesse's been raw for 23 years. I've only been
Yeah.
raw for 7. Nate's only been raw for 5.
Only. But see, I know we downplay it. Like, well, I've just been doing this for this long. But I mean, you know, for someone who is new to this lifestyle, even just 30 days is a feat, right? Or like 90 days to reprogram kind of the way that they think about food. Because that's the thing, it's so tricky. My gosh, we've got so much unprogramming, you know, to do. Like, we've been so deeply programmed with commercialism, and then of course, you know, here we are, we're living in Las Vegas, bro. Like, this place is crazy. It's awesome, you know, in a lot of ways, but like, I'm driving around, I'm like, wow, no wonder so many people have such a hard time, because there's nowhere to go. You can get a pizza for $5, or a mango, 1 mango, 2 mango, 2 big mangoes for $5, which, you know, each of us would eat as kind of a snack. There may be like, they're big, they may be 250 calories, but you can see how the system is set up for you to be able to, say, like a family like yourselves, you know, and you don't have very much money. Are you going to get a couple mangoes, or are you going to go buy a pizza? You're going to buy a pizza, man. Like, this system is set up in such a ridiculous backwards way, and it's kind of just like the world. Everything's inverted. And that's what's so incredible. Like, we're connecting right now through these devices. Bless the technology in so many ways, 100%. And being able to share the mindsets of different people around the world, and figuring like, it's our time, man. We're taking this planet back. Like, we are definitely making waves of changes are happening. There's lots of beautiful minds and beautiful creative people creating documentaries that are really exposing certain truths as to what's happening to this planet, what's happening to the animals, and of course, what's happening to ourselves by ingesting all this funk. So,
yeah, and another thing too, on that note about like the availability of things, I was doing a little bit of digging around and looking at some of the numbers, and people who, there's a more a larger number of people who make over $75,000 a year buy junk food as opposed to people who are on the poverty level. So it's up to the people who are making the money need to put their dollar into good things so that the people who don't make enough money can afford it. So it's up to the people who make a lot more money to put it where we should be putting it, right? Because the poor people can't. They don't have access to it, and they are subjected to the supply and demand, right? Because if everyone's demanding junk food, then the poor people are going, that's all they're going to be able to afford. So people who make more money need to make better choices so the poor people can afford that stuff, right?
And everybody should be sprouting and growing microgreens. Because,
Absolutely.
I mean,
And like for party foods, you got to check out Lissa's Party Foods book. I mean, the pictures are mind-blowing. The recipes are just delicious in there. It's just, everyone should definitely check out the Raw Vegan Bundle. I mean, it's crazy. I don't like giving away stuff that much for such a price. I mean, $3,200 worth of stuff. And if someone is struggling out there and can't even afford $50, they should actually buy the bundle, because there's Ted Carr's program in there, how to make your books, how to get out on, out in the public and make money. I mean, he makes a boatload of money. I mean, crazy amount of money, and helping people. It's a beautiful thing. And sadly, in this world, we have to have balance in money. I would love to do everything by trade and barter. That would be nice. But sadly, these crazy people out there have designed everything for money. So we have to find balance in that. And it is kind of a little bit more expensive to eat raw food. But if you go and buy in bulk, if you go out there and you know the right tricks and you do it, you start to learn how to find bananas on deal. I mean, we find bananas that are really nice and ripe, and then we buy 2 big boxes of them, and then we got bananas coming out of our ears. I mean, people were in there saying, oh, they're not eating enough fruits.
And there's that saying too, like, you pay the farmer now or you pay big pharma later, right? So it might be a little bit expensive, a little bit more money to eat healthy, but it's less time spending in the car, going to the doctors to get your checkup, to get more medications,
more surgery, more time off work.
In the long run, it's definitely it's the better investment. And it shouldn't necessarily be expensive. That just goes to show how everything is inverted, everything is backwards.
It is. It's all backwards. I mean, everything is like the doctors will tell you diet has nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with our health problem. And it's just everything is backwards. And we have to also, before anyone does any procedures and surgeries and stuff, they should definitely message me first and see if there's some alternative. Yeah, we actually have to go. So
Jesse, I gotta go, bro. I'm going live here in just a minute. Hey, let's connect.
And Rainy, my wife is going live in a minute.
Okay, and I know that you DM'd, so we'll connect and try to get one set up as well, bro. I'd love to get on with you, man.
Sounds good, Nate. Yeah,
good to see you, brother.
So good to see you. Okay,
cool.
Love you guys.
So everybody, please go follow. Please go follow The Whole Lifestyle on Instagram if you want to help me hit that up, and I'm going to be sharing more stuff. And also, if you buy the bundle on my link there, I would really appreciate it. That would help us out a lot.
Yeah. So if everyone watching, if you want to support Jesse, and go follow him. I have his Instagram tagged in the chat. Go grab the bundle from his link. And
also, I wanted to do something really crazy for everybody. For the first 5 people who go to my page and buy the bundle through my link, they'll get a $75 consultation for free.
Woo.
So basically, and if you have already had a consultation in the past, you can have one of my books for free. So definitely go and check that out. So, and message me. So if you buy the bundle with my link and you want a consultation, message me for that. And if you buy the link and you want one of my other books, message me for that and I'll hook you up. I have to go. Rainy's got another live. So if you follow Happy Raw Rainy, you will see my wife on her thing, and you might see our little one. So please, The Whole Lifestyle on Instagram there, and we will see you soon. Thank you, Lissa, for having us, and so thankful for you making this bundle, and I hope everybody keeps happy and well. And just remember, every problem has multiple solutions, and if you never, ever, 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 ever give up in life, you're going to win your health problem. You're going to win in life. You're going to be happy and healthy. So don't give up. Message us for help. Love you all
message us
so
for
much.
help. That's our goal in life,
Yeah,
is to help you guys.
to help
So,
everybody. Absolutely.
thank you,
Okay,
Jesse.
love you all. Take care.
Love you.
Save this video, record it, make sure you save it.
Yes,
Thanks
I
to
will.
everybody,
It'll be
all
on my
beautiful friends
IGTV.
out there and people. Okay, nice. Okay, love you all. Take care. Please follow my page. Let's bring this numbers up quickly. Thank you guys. The whole lifestyle. Bye-bye. We got to go.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.